Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are literally at the crossroads when we discuss this particular topic. On the 30th of May 1987, under the 6th Amendment of the Indian Constitution, Goa became India's 25th state. It was a momentous occasion, and of course the statehood was preceded by major agitations primarily to preserve Goa's identity, its culture and its uniqueness. The opinion poll, of course, was the first of those, followed by the language agitation, which was more than just a fight to make Konkani its official language, but more to stamp Goa's identity and its uniqueness in a manner that the world would know. Goa, of course, was blessed with its official language status shortly before statehood came into being in February of the same year. But all these achievements culminated into one of Goa's twin aspirations, which was statehood. Now the thing is that after statehood happened, everybody felt that the entire process of Goa's assimilation into the Union of India was complete, but at the same time Goa could chart its own course, its own identity, its own future, and make it surely and purely the beautiful little pearl in the ocean that it's always called. In 2023, it is perhaps the right time, with 36 odd years having passed, to look back and either conclude that we have covered ourselves with a lot of glory or otherwise. And obviously there is no yes and no or a black and white answer to this. We have to kind of view Goa's progress as a state across various parameters and figure out how we have done as far as that is concerned. Firstly, have we been politically mature? Secondly, have we done politics and governance of ethics? More importantly, have we preserved, protected and given respect to the language on the basis of which the statehood was conceived and formed, which is Konkani? Thirdly, have we preserved our natural heritage, our past, as well as our natural resources for which Goa should have been so proud of? And last but not the least, the broader question of identity, have we been able to establish that? So all these issues are something that our very eminent panelists will surely get into, all of whom, by virtue of their learning, their education, their professions, will lead a lot of value to this debate, and all of them individually and cumulatively would know much more than myself in terms of assimilating these thoughts and putting it on the table. All of them are extremely well known, so they don't need any special introduction, but however, I will still introduce all of them. Professor Prajal Sakadane, well, you can call him an activist, historian, champion of Goa's heritage and many other hats. Next to him, of course, is the veteran Nirmala Tai Sawant. Nirmala Tai was the power minister in the 1999, I think, Luisin Falero cabinet. And of course is a champion of many causes, but currently, and we will discuss that, the whole issue of the diversion of the Madai waters and is something that she has actively championed under the Madai Bachao Abhiyan umbrella, because of which we still feel there is some hope of saving our precious Mother Madai. Next to me on my left is the veteran Thomasin Cardos, former MLA, former speaker, and again we spoke a lot about Konkani. So if there's one of the top champions of preserving this language through its various forms, literature, poetry, theatre, Thomasin Baba has done it all and continues to do so. Last but not the least, Dr. Manoj Kamath, academician, commentator, writer, professor, currently with the Dempe College of Commerce, and a very important contributor to our debates whenever we have them. Thank you, all of you. Prajal Bab, I don't have any special question. This is a discussion. I just like you to elaborate or dwell on a few points that I may have mentioned.
Sujoy Bab, as you have rightly pointed out, that the 35 years ago, now on the 30th May 2023, we will be completing 36 years of Goa statehood. So, if you go into the history of statehood, it was a culmination of various efforts, various threats that Goa faced after her liberation from the Portuguese rule. The first and foremost was to merge Goa into Maharashtra. Such a draconian thought, that time people had, I mean, some of the leaders, the party which was representing in the assembly as a ruling party, they wanted to merge Goa into Maharashtra, and it was a very alarming situation. Thanks to the opinion poll, we were saved from Goa's merger into Maharashtra, because it was a question of our very existence and our very identity, which is based on our mother tongue, Konkani, and of course that time Konkani was not the issue in the opinion poll, but it was the question of merger. And this actually culminated finally in the aspiration for our linguistic identity, that is Konkani, through the 1985-86 agitation, which culminated finally in the 30th May 1987 official language bill passed. Still, it was, I would say, it was incomplete, because it was official language in Devanagari. It should have also built upon the aspirations of those people who were writing in Romi and Romi script.
Yes.
So yeah,
correct. Tai, have we kind of achieved the aspirations we may have achieved, but have we got the fruit of those aspirations in so many years?
We have achieved the aspirations. We had the aspiration, and we have achieved them also. For example, we got the statehood, but after achieving statehood, if our politicians were wise enough, if they were politician leaders, rulers, then the things would have been different. But what happens in democracy, you just look at the voting pattern and you change your decisions. What is good for the society is not looked into the matter, but what is good to get the votes, that's what is looked at by the politicians, and therefore we could not achieve what we were supposed to achieve. For example, water, air and land has to be preserved, but that is looked at by the politicians. The politicians only think of 5 years and what they can achieve in 5 years. For example, the land, you know what has happened, different acts they have passed by which we are going to lose our land, which is kept for cultivation. What has happened to the Communidad land?
Very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
What has happened to those salt pans? And all these things are going to lose. We are going to lose it forever. Now we will get everything. As far as Goa is there are a lot of money. People are rich. When in my childhood, 24 paise was a big thing. But now my granddaughter says 10 rupees. Means 10 rupees is nothing. In Portuguese rule, we used to get Eskimo. That was the ice cream for 25 paise. Do you remember? Yeah. And what a fun it was. And it was difficult to get those 25 paise. Now we have got lot of money. People don't mind spending money, but we are going to lose our heritage. We are losing our environment. We are losing land. We are losing water. We are losing water. Madai is the best example to say what our politicians are doing. They are not concerned about this. They are concerned only of what they are going to gain today.
Right.
They are not thinking of tomorrow. They are not thinking of next generation at all. Now today or yesterday I read in the newspaper, there are 17 countries of Asia, including India and Nepal, are warned about the Himalayas disaster. And then what is going to happen?
Right.
There will be a lot of money. What had happened in the great crisis, depression, they used to take bag of money and is to get the handful of rice or food stuff. Same thing is going to happen in the future. Therefore, we have to preserve the water, we have to preserve the land, and we have to preserve the air also. The pollution that is seen today is horrible, and therefore there are lots of disease or
Happening now, yes.
is happening, and we are facing the problem, and things will be worse than tomorrow. It will be worse than today.
Yes. Thomas, your first remarks. Then we'll go on to the specific. I also has mentioned some very important points which you have to deep dive.
Anyway,
but first,
we say that after getting statehood, we fulfilled our aspirations. Technically, yes. But if you see what has happened after getting statehood, I feel that many a time it would have been better such a statehood was not given to us. The reason, our politics prior to the statehood, this thing, was much better compared to what it happened after the statehood was achieved. If you see the illegalities throughout Goa, it has increased tenfold during this time, what we say our statehood time. You see the educational thing. No doubt education has developed, education has reached to each and every door of the house, but where are the IAS officers? Are we producing IAS officers?
Right.
No. But then what is the level of our standard of our learning process? Then we say Konkani. Yes, Konkani was the basic idea in order to maintain and secure the identity of Goa,
which led to statehood.
Now, if you see the language, when we fought for the language agitation, nobody distinguished, Are, you are Rumi writer, you are Devanagari writer.
Yes.
Everybody went with one mind that we must get Konkani as the state language of Goa. It is only on the day and on the night where the act was being passed, that time this confusion was brought, and without the knowledge of the Rumi Lipi loving people, they introduced Devanagari as the Konkani written in Devanagari is the official language. Now, a major section of the lovers of Konkani were sidelined. A sort of negative impact on them. Whereas Devanagari lobby was happy. But are we doing justice to even Devanagari Konkani today? Where is Konkani in the administration?
Right.
Nowhere. So until and unless we put our things in order, I don't think our aspirations will be fulfilled.
We'll come back to each of these. Dr. Kamath, your opening remarks, and then we'll get.
Yes, we are completing 37 years of statehood, and it also means adulthood, because now we are nearing 40. But 40 is good as well as the bad number, because 40, when you get into 40s, it is normally say you are into a naughty 40 kind of an age. So overall, I see I am quite happy with the conditions after the statehood, because if you look at quantitative terms, we have done good in all the aspects. In terms of economy, if you look at what is Goa today, in terms of its development indicators, we are comparable only to the best developing nations. Forget about other states of the country. So if our economy, in terms of our per capita income, in terms of our level of happiness, in terms of our development index, in terms of our nutrition index, in terms of our health and wellness index, we have certainly done better, and I think that all Goans should be proud enough of this particular developmental indicators. Second, one important thing what Goan statehood has given us, it has mainstreamed us, and I believe that the process of decolonization has been completed after we have got liberated, which also means that we are now a part of collective federalism, and I believe that we have enough gained gained enough the fruits and the benefits of collective federalism.
Okay, I will leave it to others to respond to it, but yeah, I'll allow you to complete. Sorry, I missed.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, in terms of getting more power, in terms of getting more financial autonomy, political autonomy, or autonomy in terms of decision making, whether we have used it to the best way we could or not may be debatable. But it is certain that we have got a lot of power. Yes, as what I agree with my seniors here who said that probably we have misused, or our politicians have misused power and misused this particular autonomy. But I believe that collectively, if you look at qualitative and quantitative indicators, statehood has done us much good. When I'm saying this, I must also caution all of us that, see, it is not that everything you would gain by getting your statehood. You need to manage your affairs very well. And then Goa, the small size of the state is an advantage and also our disadvantage. So remember, meaning once we talk about beautiful Goa, green Goa, clean Goa, etc., if development has to happen, maybe somewhere we need to take a toll. And then, of course, your natural beauty, heritage also does take a toll, and it has happened. In Goa, it has happened to a little greater extent, and one must admit that we are unable to retain, or we have been unable to retain, the beauty of our natural resource. But to a greater extent, we have led to more happiness in terms of our development indicators. We have got more political and financial autonomy. Probably we have not been able to use well because the politicians have failed us, but statehood overall has made us good.
Okay, I'll get others to respond to it. In fact, all these points are important. All the panelists should respond to a couple of points that you've made. One, of course, you said that happiness index has gone up. Secondly, overall, you feel that while development may be having a few scars, overall Goa has developed and it compares with the best in the world. I will not respond to it, others will, but I will begin this round by picking up one very important aspect of our overall discussion on statehood, and that is the word development itself. The issue here is not development cannot be an open-ended term, because what happens is development has many nuances, many facets, and so on and so forth. One basic charge against the not only the present dispensation but many dispensations that have come is that the word development has actually become a pseudonym for rampant construction and destruction of land. The point here is that if you look at the major agitations of the people, if you look at the regional plan agitation of 2011, all the agitations that are happening, even as we sit today, there is a very big agitation by intellectuals, green activists on the quote-unquote draconian 17(2) amendment of the Goa Land and Building Rules, where you can actually say that a particular zone was erroneously carved and go and construct in the middle of a field. Whatever. I'm just giving points. The point is, okay, if you see the hills across different parts of Goa, the hills and hillocks have been literally cut. Forests are being completely denuded. So just a few thoughts on this, in the sense that in the name of, last but not the least, every politician who defects in the name of development. So we'd like to know what that development means. A few thoughts on this. And then I'll come to Tamzin Bhavan. I'll start with you and then we'll come to this.
Development has gotten bad name in Goa because all politicians call it development or something like that.
Yes.
And then in the name of this so-called development or development, we have seen rampant corruption and we have seen mass possible defections. But this defections and corruption is not an outcome of statehood, remember. So defection and corruption was also there when we were not in complete state and we were only a liberated union territory. What a statehood gives you more power. And if there was no statehood and if we were still a part of union territory, these defections would have anyway taken place, because it is the center which takes the shots and it is the center which plays the master stroke most of the times. And even this rampant corruption also would have happened. We have seen how the center misuses powers in case of some union territories. We have recently seen, and we go to an extent of changing the verdict of the Supreme Court. So it is not that statehood has led to this kind of a crisis. This crisis would have been there anyway, whether we were a full-fledged state, or whether we were in union.
One point, not contrary, but just as a added tributary to this river of yours thought. See, what happens is, if Goa, the size of Goa has not changed.
Yes.
I would say arguably Goa used to manage beautifully with 4 ministers.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
The point is that this statehood has given additional possibility of
Unnecessary
greed,
power
which
and
has led
greed.
to more ministers.
Correct.
When you have more ministers and more power, the greed element also goes up.
Yes, as I said, the greater power has also gone to the extent that from 30 legislators we have now 40 legislators.
Exactly.
Now with 40 legislators for the same piece of land, which would mean that all constituencies have become manageable constituencies.
Correct. Yes.
You need to purchase
But
2,000
now
to
they are going to
3,000.
increase to 60
60 constituencies.
constituencies.
So it would be a further joke which is played on the people. When constituencies become manageable, and then all these decisive factors like that of caste, like that of creed, right of religion, cross versus Hinduism, etc., all this comes into foreplay. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is, if statehood has done something wrong, it is increasing the size or increasing the number of legislators in the assembly. So nothing was wrong when, earlier we have seen state governments being managed by 2.5 ministers
Exactly.
or 3.5 ministers. Now we have 12 ministers and and so many corporations to be taken care of.
Sure. Tamadin Bab, your views on development?
See, everybody has said development today means destruction of environment.
Exactly.
It is happening not only in the big places, even the small places. Now this development that is taking place is in front of the eyes of the people having power, MLAs, ministers, and nobody does anything. I'll give you one example. Next to my house, a kilometer away, there was a nice hill. A hill which was green in color, and there was a wherever the development had
This
stopped.
is Kandoli.
In Kandoli, next to my house at Vadodara.
Right.
There was a big compound wall. I was the sarpanch of that village from 77 till 95 and speaker of the Goa Assembly 95 to 2000. All this time, many people had come to do something on that hill. Nobody was giving any permission,
Nice.
and that idea was not there in the minds of anybody. And that compound wall, which was a strong old compound wall of stones, was protecting everything. When I lost speakers assembly,
No,
election,
election.
after the election,
Yeah, and
I lost. The same night, the wall was broken. The wall was broken by politicians only, and the road was made. And today on that hill there are about 800 houses and 1,500 votes. There is no planning. Now see what I am saying. If nothing has happened, even those people who have constructed the houses were restricted to construct only after getting the plan approved. Instead of 800, hardly 200, 300 houses would have come. But that is not happened. Everybody makes a group, people for them to have votes in the future, and accordingly all these illegalities are going. Now why I am saying this is happening after statehood had taken place in Goa, and therefore our rulers definitely they have lost the sight of the development, lost the direction in which they have to take Goa in future, and that is the reason why we are facing all these problems today.
Right, Dr. Kamath mentioned an interesting word. He said mainstreaming, in the sense that we have come into the mainstream. I would look at two things: word mainstream on one side, and the complete erosion of our ancient land systems of community on the other side. My issue is that though when we got statehood at that point of time, our communidades were still institutions that were very vibrant.
Yes.
There was some hope in protecting, not only protecting land, but also ensuring that people who needed land in the community got land.
Yes.
In the garb of that need-based land system, it became a greed-based land system, where right now what happens is a big builder comes in from anywhere else. and the Comunidad land is granted to the big builder in utter violation of the spirit of the Comunidad. Now the issue is that while he alluded to the good parts of mainstreaming, if you can tell us that whether this kind of mainstreaming, what it is that it has done to Goa.
Yeah. The Comunidad, the age-old institution, they should have been preserved. I remember my professor of
Now it is
economics-
destroyed.
Yeah, it's destroyed completely.
Yes.
My professor, Mr. Buckley, was my professor for economics.
Yes.
He was doing research for his PhD, he was working on that. But he gave it up because it was already on the verge of destruction. So now when we say development, the development should not be based on the increase in money. There should be not, there should be happiness index for the development. You should be happier than what you were before. Ultimately, what for we live? To live happily. If such a thing happens where you are having lot of money, development takes place, but you are not getting air to breathe, you are not getting proper roads, then it's not development. Now Goa is much higher in development index, but what is the use of that when more than 40% of the people are living under poverty? They are living in poverty. You have to accept. But you know, we cannot see them how they live. They don't want to tell what are their problems, what they are facing. But still they are. So what we want after this achieving statehood was that all people are better than what they were before. But it is not happening. Why it is not happening? Because it is secluded to a certain group of people who are very close to the power, who are in the corridors of the power. They enjoy the fruits.
Right.
Even for the job, whether it is Congress, whether it is BJP, it doesn't matter. But those who are people close to them, they get the job. I don't speak about other aspect. But this is what is happening. That was not expected in the past. We were thinking of the quality of the person, what his capability of the person, and they were given jobs. But today, what we find is that reckless use is taking place. Now, for example, you have the power. The more power you have, absolute powers leads to absolute corruption.
Corruption. Yes. Yes.
So that is what is happening today.
Right.
So we have to think of the happiness index. For happiness index, we have to think of the environment. We have to think of the food that we use today, the pesticides that is used by the farmers,
Right.
and what they are getting, the health aspect, and then only we can say there is development in the
Brother Bab,
state.
I'd like to you to see development through the lens of heritage.
Yeah.
And how have we managed to preserve or protect a pristine heritage? Because Goa's heritage is something that the world loves. Whether you talk of churches, whether you talk of temples, whether you talk of everything else. If you can, as somebody who's studied and championed this for a very, very long time, how have we managed to preserve and protect our heritage, which is our very treasured resource?
As Dr. Manoj Kamath has said, that word development, and the way they pronounce it also, it differs from village to village.
Yes.
And it is a much abused word. For any election campaign, in the manifesto, you say, development kortalo, development kortalo tumcho. So, to swatacho development kortalo ka goincho development kortalo, that is a different issue. So now, development, when we are looking, our concern is heritage, the natural heritage, the historical heritage, the cultural heritage. Now, when you look at the natural heritage, post statehood, I feel, one is that our identity and our aspirations for Goa being a state has been fulfilled politically or as an identity. But there has been rampant development. Hills have been bulldozed for this development. Just to take example of the Reshmagos Hill, it was a beautiful green hill.
Yes.
And they have put up that structure now. Huge structure is coming up. First hill that came up was that Tata, this thing in Betim. So one after another, our hills are being cut, axed everywhere. The trees are being axed. Okay, so natural heritage is on the radar of insensitive development. So our natural heritage is being destroyed. Our Now we are worried about our river being diverted, our springs, our ponds, our lakes, people throw garbage, and there is rampant construction everywhere. Just if you take Taligaon, where I come from, you will find that instead of wineys cultivated, the pot-shaped brinjal of which we got GI index, now buildings are cultivated.
Yes.
Everywhere buildings are cultivated. So in the name of development, it's a much abused word. Our heritage, now I'll just give you one example. We were trying to save the gunpowder factory in Raibandar, and there were 11 millstones lying there, and we tried to protect them and preserve them. So the person who was there, the builder, I think he was from Punjab or something, he said, "You don't worry, I'll use it for landscaping." And the then director of archaeology went to the court and said, "No, that site does not belong to us. Only the wall belongs to us, which is on the road." So we had to get to the chief secretary, the ASI, and get those millstones moved, and then they put up buildings over there. Like that, I can give you several examples where we have intervened and saved our historical heritage, even natural heritage. Okay, recently the tamarind tree was cut. Now the Tonka pillar is lying in a precarious condition. It's going to fall anytime. So every time, we have to continuously, especially
The old Goa precinct, for instance.
Yeah, now old Goa precinct, we are having a protest on the 28th. So everywhere, that huge bungalow has come,
That's right,
in
correct.
the very World Heritage Site. So the development is in the World Heritage Site. It's a World Heritage Site. So it's total abuse of and violations galore.
And done illegally. Permissions were given
illegally.
illegally, correct.
TCP has granted permission and they are flouting the rules. CRZ violations are taking place openly. So, I mean, development, of the politicians, and each politician feels that it is their private bhat. The constituency bill is like that private bhat. So, ताणी कितेंय करपाक जातात. आपण आपल्या हाज्या खातीर करता न्ही. आपण डिसाइड करतलो अशें जालां हें. So, I don't know how this is.
I'll touch upon one aspect and then go on to politics, defection, and so on and so forth. One more point, since we are talking on this, again I'll bring you back to Mandi. On Mandi, the one point of view that Goans also very strongly feel, that at the end of the day, if it is a battle between Goa and Karnataka, and Goa is coming in as a state, albeit a smaller state, the power of the state and its people should have been put into full use to carry on the fight for Mandi to its logical conclusion, and not get into a surrender type of situation which people feel. That my point is that Goa is ultimately a full-fledged state. It is not some union territory or whatever to be ridden roughshod. So even on Mandi, I do not think we've used the power of the state to do what we can to take Mandi to its logical conclusion.
I think it's also about this, our Goa being politically very negligible to the center. We are giving only 2 MPs and those 2 MPs don't speak.
Right.
So for them it doesn't matter whether Goa gets Madre or not.
Correct.
So politically we are negligible.
Correct.
So the center also looks about 28 MPs which the Karnataka gives to the center. It's all about that also.
Dr. Kamath, I'll switch tack to defections and politics. See, if you see that way back in 1967, when these 12 UGDP MLAs had defected, mass defected because they were upset with Jack Sekiar because he did not talk about statehood in the whole subject. He spoke of yes or no, merger or no merger, but did not bring statehood.
No, more than that, I think it was Dayanand Bandodkar's strategy or counter strategy,
correct,
to quieten his own disgruntled MLAs.
People,
so
okay.
whatever it is.
Then shortly after that, 1970, there was MGP MLAs who did this mass defection and formed the Naya MGP. So defection is a story that began in the 60s. But the point is, defection is defection irrespective of how you look at it. But don't you feel that from defections of the 60s to the defections of 2000, 2001, or even maybe 10 years earlier, what has been the ugly twist in an already ugly act of defection?
I believe that the defections have received an ugly twist only after we have got into the political mainstream. What I mean by this is, if you look at the kind of political structures we had before liberation, it was dominated by regional forces. And regional forces have, when you have regional forces flying, you have their own advantage because the high command is here. But then when you have high command in center and your same high command has to control many other states and that to your neighboring states, obviously your interests are certainly not being protected. Same thing, whether irrespective of Congress being in power or BJP being in power, Goa has not been protected. So you have seen about the Mahdi case, the time when it came out, this particular issue, Congress was ruling here as well as in the center.
Correct.
But of course, you had a bigger Congress to look at Karnataka. Congress was being ruled, Congress was ruling Maharashtra, but they never cared about this Belgaum and Maharashtra border issue. Obviously, they will not. They will always look at their political gains, and there is nothing new to it. But what I'm trying to say is, in Goa, after state liberation, we getting more MLAs, or people getting more power, or politicians having more power in their hands, has spoiled the entire story. So whether defections are good or bad, they are always bad. But if you look at the kind of defections which were sponsored by the center, that particular amount has gone up. And what are the defections for? Though development is only a name, the defections is only to get an TCP portfolio, or an environment portfolio, or a mining portfolio, or only this plum PWD portfolio. Now this is an outcome of, this is a normal outcome process. But we also need to remember that Goa, we started with from a zero level, meaning from an colonial regime, we had to start. Now Telangana has a different kind of an advantage. Telangana has been separated, it has become a state carved out from already what is a rich state.
Right.
So you cannot just compare Goa with Telangana, you cannot compare Goa with Chhattisgarh. Goa, we must look at 450 years of colonized rule, of impoverishment, of economic backwardness, because Portugal never gave us what is say industrialization. Portugal never gave us what is say educational as well as what is say economic progress. In that sense, we had to start from zero. I still believe that initial years were the best years, of course, because we were governed by the regional forces. But after this mainstream politics came, obviously you have a lot of interest of the center, which your local leaders have to take care of.
Toja, do you feel that the cause for this bad politics and defection and unethical politics is mainly due to regional forces going back and mainstream coming up, or are there more reasons to it?
No, there are more also. These are two basic reasons, but what I feel, greed of money and greed of power, mostly political power,
Yes.
is another important factor that takes this greedy MLAs to defect and do whatever they want. Now, actually, when people vote, give your verdict. Now, an MLA on his own, because of development, just negating that is a big crime. Now, why it is a crime? Because even now in the recent time, it is also a religious crime.
Right.
Because this time they have gone to all the gods and assured, and they also
Met them.
saw
Then met them also.
yeah. So therefore, what happens is that although they feel they will be given portfolios, whatever it is, but in earlier times it was happening. I want this portfolio, I want this portfolio, I am coming. Today it is not happening. And in the last episode of defection, all those who took money,
40 crores.
whatever amount, they are happy. But those who are waiting for portfolios, they are totally unhappy. Now, if this is to actually, I feel our people also has to be blamed,
Yeah, of
because
course.
at the
Yes.
time
Of
of
course. Yes.
voting,
They vote,
okay, once it is done, now next time they will stand for election, they will again be elected. Now, where is our morality?
Right.
Now, during my time,
It's very important that you put this point up, because we had raised it recently in one of
Yes.
yeah,
People are equally responsible.
during my time when
More
I was the
responsible.
speaker,
Yes.
there was the biggest defection.
right.
And that time, the situation was such, because that time I felt as a speaker, I was the greatest person in the world. Why? Why? Because the ministers and big leaders from Delhi came to me in Mandavi Hotel and trying to influence me by giving this reason, that reason, that reason. Whatever it is, finally, I took a decision. The decision was not right. I'll tell you, I have written in my book also, it was not as per the defection laws. Why? because defection laws say I must give them time to give their say whatever it is.
right.
But what was happening? Today they have defected. Tomorrow is the assembly session, and there was no time for me to give them also a time. And that was the biggest blunder of my life I did, and I disqualified them. Otherwise, that day the government would have fallen if I were not to disqualify. Here, the speaker's position also become very tricky,
Right.
because on one side you see your party getting demolished, and on the other side you see unwanted people forming the government which the people of Goa didn't want.
Yeah, defying mandates. Yes.
So this is the thing that I think a lot of things, even that defection law, now it is amended many times, still although now they say you have to resign and this thing, nothing happens. You easily resign.
Yeah.
Correct.
Go elect. So
And your
that-
disqualification proceedings go on forever and ever.
Yes.
Sai, of course, as one of the two esteemed former MLAs in this panel, just wanted to ask you one question. See, Thomas Irma mentioned the element of corruption and money coming into the whole defection process. During your time, whenever there was a thought of either changing party or changing the structure, at any point of time, do you feel that any of your colleagues would have ever had money at the back of their mind?
In the sense,
In the sense that would any of them ever think of taking any monetary gratification to take any political decision?
yeah. Things
Times were
that
different, so I'm asking.
things were different then.
Yes.
For example, when I was MLA and when I was a minister, things is not of very past, very much.
It was not too long ago.
Yeah,
also.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Mr. Daulikar came to me and said, "I have come specially to meet you because I want to make you chief minister." Because he is alive, so only you have to come to BJP. And
This
other
was
sections.
who? This was who?
Daulikar came to me
Ah,
and
okay.
told me because he was a messenger.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And you did not worry about other members. It will be taken care of. Only we want you to be the chief minister. Why? It was a bombshell on me. What is this happening? But very moment I said, I don't want to become chief minister by defecting. I did not take much time. He said, don't worry about other 6 MLAs because 7 were to be defected.
Right.
And whenever we are together for any function, he mentions this incident.
Right.
Yeah. So things then were different. Then giving this one gift, we used to call it sagwad in Portuguese.
Ah, yeah.
It was like giving a big fish
Right.
or
Ambo.
big poros,
Yes.
jackfruit.
Gantun.
Gatun.
Yeah. But now sagwad is different.
No, Sagwad is too huge.
Now sagwad is different. So this is the change of time. With the change of the time, things have changed. Ethics have changed. No more, people are not that ethical today. Taking money and voting for the person. Why educated people? I said, you educated person voted for that man? Yes, because he told me that he'll make the road in front of my house.
Right.
Now, when educated, intelligent people who are rich are falling in that trap, you cannot blame those poor people. Secondly, there is a revenge part also. In the politics, revenge is taken, and therefore also people are scared of this one of the ruling
Vindictiveness.
yeah, because of vindictiveness. And our people, whether in Goa or whether in India, 90 crores of them are so poor. They don't think of tomorrow. They think of today. So here what is important is that they are to be educated. They should be ethically guided. But how can it be done?
Correct.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
Prajal Bab, in the last segment, and we'll end up. We've got about another 15 minutes left. See, my point is when you have a state, and we are about 36, there are 2 or 3 issues that we need to look into, which we've not touched upon yet. One is the complete brain drain and the movement of brain power and educated people moving out of Goa. Number 1. Number 2, the absolute surge for Portuguese passports even now after 36 years, and the fact that people are still, if you see the lines outside the consulate in Altin, that never seems to stop. Isn't it also true that every time one person surrenders his Indian passport, acquires his Portuguese passport and goes out, it is actually a slap on the idea of statehood when you actually do that. If we can't kind of keep our own people back, and believe me, 80% of them are not going because they're getting major corporate jobs. Many of them are going to just enhance their economic status.
Yes.
Goa still survives on the basis of the money order economy, but now of course the word money order is a term, you don't do money orders anymore, but transfer economy, let's put it this way. Okay. So there are so many people who do this. So there are so many families in Goa who are surviving not because of government jobs or schemes or whatever have you, but because of remittances coming from abroad. Secondly, how much have we done as far as this, and this question is for everybody, one question for all. Okay. The other is that how much have we done in terms of educating people in terms of skill development so that people can actually get jobs through skills here. Thirdly, have we managed to get the right amount of economic investment into Goa? Have we enhanced our manufacturing industries to see that more jobs come in or not? That also needs to look into. We have large amounts of infrastructure happening, but what have we done to our farming? Because our farming, agricultural activities have gone down drastically. People are not taking to. Our traditional occupations like fishing and all that have gone completely. This whole issue of LED fishing has come into play. But the fact remains that there is less fish in the sea. Our ramponkars are completely getting affected, and the issue is that traditional occupations are dying. Our renders and poders are out of circulation. You will have Hindi speaking ones who have come in. So my issue is that this is also 36 years of statehood. So this question is for everybody. This is going to be a last segment. I'll start from you and end with one.
See, statehood has brought its merits and demerits. The economic aspects, maybe Dr. Manoj Kamath would be in a better position to reflect upon. But looking at the historical and heritage aspects, like we are striving for the last so many years to preserve our natural heritage, historical heritage and cultural heritage. And when you're talking about in terms of heritage tourism, I feel people are from outside the state or outside India, they are coming to Goa to see Goa, green Goa. They are coming to see clean Goa. They are coming to see the historical aspects of Goa. So those are being eroded now.
Right.
So due to now these particular land rules, it's a draconian law, and this particular thing needs to call for that we had GBA in 2006.
Yes.
It needs to call for a big agitation. On one side we have to fight for mother, now we have to fight against the land rules. So they are being altered. First it was 16B and now it is 17. So it is a very serious issue. But what happens is all these things, don't percolate down to the masses. The people don't think seriously about it. Even when we call for an Andolan, how many people come? Because it doesn't translate into numbers. Okay, that day we had a human chain, and of course people did come in, but it is not. So the problem. Post statehood, I feel in the during the regime of Banodkar or Shashikala Kakodkar, the first regime of Rane, I don't think so. There was so much of hill cutting and so much of corruption, so all these things. The politics aspect is there, but post statehood, that 1927 March 1990 is a dark day in the political history of Goa, where for the first time, led by Churchill, Alemao and others, that gang met with the governor and decided to form their government by pulling down the elected government. So that started, and there was a real estate lobby supporting it, and that was from 27 March 1999 till date that has been going on. You elect some people on this particular party ticket, the people elect, and next day they defect.
Right.
Next day they defect, and they don't even care now. They don't list because money has already exchanged hands, and it is not money which is in lakhs. Today the CR is even 1 crore now. After some time, 1 crore we are looking at a bigger amount. So that is happening in a big way, and people are, as Madam has said, आतांचे ओके आज म्हाका कितें मेळटलें 2000 मेळटले 3000 मेळटले इवन आतां खंयचे दॅट इज एक बिग लीडर हॅड कम okay so some of the activists phoned me and said no we'll show black flags. I said black flags for whom? Only 5 of us are going to show black flags, rest teeming millions will attend his meeting regarding Madhai.
Correct,
okay
correct.
So this is what is happening. The people are equally responsible because they are voting and they get what they vote for.
Correct. Tai, you
Yeah.
do speak, but I just like you to dwell a little bit on the exodus of people from Goa. If you can touch upon that also a bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
The people in Goa, since we know each other, they do not want to do that manual work in Goa.
Right.
Abroad, they don't mind. A friend of my husband's friend had come. He was thinking about talking about big things, what is happening in England and what is not happening, and they were moving, and what job he was doing, he never told. But when his daughter was in Oxford University, he landed in England, and he saw that friend removing the ice on the ground of the airport. So he doesn't mind doing anything there, but he does mind to do it in Goa.
Correct.
Now, these people who do not want to do hard work in Goa, at least they can do lot other things, but they should be given the opportunity to do that.
Right.
For example, tourism. No need of hard work. But right type of tourism should be promoted. That is not done. As Prajal says, the people come to see the natural beauty. So it has to be preserved. The politicians in a big way says that it should be a spiritual hub. But what are they doing to make it a spiritual hub? They say it should be a religious hub, religious hub. But actually it is a good place. Goa is a good place to have a religious hub because we all live together with love
Harmony.
and affection.
Yes.
There is a harmony.
Yes.
For example, when I was a child, our neighbor were a Muslim. I was brought up in that family. That Jubaida Bakery in Church Square, they are the owners. But I was there. We didn't mind. And actually, we are more orthodox before liberation. But we didn't mind being with them. So it can be a good religious hub, Goa. It should be intellectual hub. That's what they say. It can be because people of Goa are really intellectuals. But what is the government doing?
Right.
It should be educational hub. What Goa is doing? Nothing of that sort. Here the people, we have to work hard to keep the people in this land, and for that purpose, right skill should be, they should be trained with the right skill, and they should be given the opportunity to work.
As Tai was saying, full of potential, but lack of practice.
No, I would put it in a different way.
Yes.
See, my village is a village of tourism. When we were liberated in 60s, 70s, there were many fisher people there, having rampon, oge, niste marpaje, all those. The whole beach was, after every 100 meters, there used to be one canoe with big nets. This. As tourism came, slowly it stopped, and today there is no sign of any fishing activity, except on the other side, in our side, like a little district. Now, what happens? She was saying it is easy money. It is also not that easy money, but as the people started coming and they wanted to have something, those shacks came. Now, shack has become a big business, but in there are a lot of money because they work for 6 months, and but in spite of all that, still the people from Kandoli itself prefer to go to England, UK. Why? Now, one thing is that they may be feeling shy to work here, but beside that, there is another factor, that is money. There they may do any type of work, but they get
Lot of-
sizable amount of money.
Correct. And the dignity of labor. is-
Yeah, dignity of labor. And that amount of money is enough for them, not only to sustain, but also to see
send.
that their family is sustained well. So therefore, exodus will continue, and even intellectuals are going today, because Goa, I say Goa government is not producing the number of jobs they should have produced. But
So
it
is
did not
exodus
happen.
an indicator of failure?
Failure.
Yes. Manoj Bab, if you can just talk a little bit about the economic indices and the
Yes.
fact that, whether we have actually grown in terms of our GDP, our manufacturing industries, our jobs and so on and so forth, and any other point that you would like to make.
One thing in terms of economic numbers, quantitative numbers, in terms of your GDP, in terms of your per capita income, etc., we have grown excellently well as compared to other developing countries. I'm not even comparing states. But there are some three important problems, or very perennial problems of the state. First, the economy, the structural economy of Goa is eroded now. What do I mean by that? First, Goa was an agricultural economy, a self-sustaining economy, and we were producing most of the things which Goans needed during liberation, or before liberation, or after liberation, before statehood. Now, right from poultry to chicken to bread, we are now dependent on, right from milk, we are dependent on other states. We are not even having a self-sustaining model. The structure has changed to such an extent that once upon a time an agricultural economy has become a service-dominant economy. I have no problems about services if the services comprises of IT exports, if it comprises of pharma exports, it comprises of high skill. But here, when I'm talking about services in the state of Goa, these services are only come from maybe casino dealings, or it comes from real estate, or it comes from hotel and entertainment. Now, these are not sustaining models. So therefore, the structure of the economy has eroded. So that's the first problem. Second, we have seen is massive unemployment. If you look at the numbers today of Goa state, it is the highest across all states in the country. And
The unemployment
the
figures.
unemployment figures are highest. Now, why should the smaller state, which is otherwise a prosperous state, have high numbers of unemployment? It is because of that there are no opportunities. We have not been able to get good investments in the sectors which are which can create employment, or probably our education system has failed us to such an extent that we are producing an army of unemployable people, unemployable graduates. All these factors has led to massive unemployment, and that's the reason exodus is one of the things. Third, we have messed up with our entire financial economy. As a government, here I blame all the successive governments after 80 or 85 or 87 after the statehood. None of these governments, successive governments, have taken care of inclusive planning or financial planning for the state in terms of balancing the expenditures with the revenue, or looking it for new sources of revenue, or doing a balancing act of spending from what you have rather than spending from borrowings.
Correct,
Our
absolutely.
borrowings or public debt has increased,
Increased.
and it is increased to such an
It's
extent
about
that
24,000 crores now. if I'm
yeah,
not
it
wrong.
is just a minimal figure. But
24,000 crores.
if you really would like to put an estimate, I would put it at almost 32,000 crores for the
okay.
entire
Yes,
state of
yes.
economy, because there are very hidden factors. So we say off balance sheet funding,
Right.
that shows the amount as small. So
No,
it
no.
is
Also, the
underestimated.
point is that you need to get more money to even fund the interest.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So here we are unable to even service our debts.
Correct.
So that's a greater problem. So I feel that unemployment, erosion of the financial structure and erosion of an economic structure are three important or perennial problems which Goan economy has to face, not only now, but Goans will have to face this for the long term.
But also, is the reason, are we not getting the right politicians and visionaries, or are we not getting the right bureaucracy? Where is the problem?
No, see, it is the will of the politicians. Not that Goa is known to have good
No,
amount
would
of
you call it
intellectuals.
will, or would you call it incompetence?
No, I will say it's a political failure.
No,
There is-
but
there
no,
is-
my only thing is, why would any politician would like a stronger economy?
Correct.
So my point is it a lack of will, or is it a lack of competence?
It is lack of competence.
Correct.
Obviously, you have a lot of aspirations.
Yes, correct.
Everybody wants to do something bad.
Correct.
But you need to be competent enough to understand.
Yes.
If not able to understand, at least get the right number of people or
And the
right
bureaucrats,
kind of
yes,
people.
correct, yes.
Or choose the right bureaucrats to lead it.
Correct, correct.
And see, the recent, if you have seen the NEP performance
Yes.
of the state, currently with one change in a bureaucrat, you say that NEP is rolling very fast.
That's correct. With the
Right?
education director.
The education director,
Yes, correct.
the education secretary territory.
Yes,
You have
secretary,
seen-
sorry, yes.
You have seen the G20. We have been able to change.
Interestingly, the same person, Prasad Lolikar, had done an excellent work as
Excellent
art and
job
culture
as
secretary.
art and culture
Yes, correct.
department.
So people
if
make a
bureaucracy
difference.
wants,
Yeah.
so whether it is national games or whether it is G20 or whether it is NEP, you can change things in seconds,
Correct.
in few months, in few days.
Yes.
So here, I think it's the competence that matters.
I'm afraid we've run out of time, but with such competent panelists with so much of experience, there will always be more and more to discuss. And though 1 hour has passed, it almost seems we were only warming up to the discussion. There was so much more. But nevertheless, from whatever we have learned today, more than anything else, I think there are few major trouble areas that we need to address. While there is a reason to be, say, proud that we are a full-fledged state, but that pride is also colored with a lot of disappointments, as all of them have pointed out. And the biggest disappointment of them all is the fact that we may have lost or delayed achieving so much that we could have achieved with the power of statehood. There is so much of potential. Undoubtedly, things have happened, but there is so much that has either not happened or unhappened, which means rather than preserving, we have destroyed. Rather than protecting, we have finished institutions and the state, as it were. So these are very, very alarming signs. But the only point that we can take away here as well is that hope, of course, shines eternally, and it is very, very important, as Thomas Inbab has pointed out, Nimla Tai, and everybody else, Dr. Manoj, Prajal, that we also need to point fingers at ourselves and figure out whether we have been responsible citizens, responsible voters, and also ask and introspect whether we have also been responsible and contributed to the gradual degradation of Goa and its systems or not. I think we should begin by looking at ourselves in the mirror and pointing fingers at us before we do so to others. I thank all of you for giving your time and your wisdom. And I'm sure Goa will be richer for this experience than ever before. Thank you so much.